All right. Man, do I even remember how to do the old format? Hey everybody, Alexander Morgan here, but my friends call me Schmorgel. How's everyone doing? We okay? We holding up? Weird times, I know, but I hope everyone's keeping sane, social distancing, keeping safe, and hopefully staying entertained. So originally I had another song and video planned for this week, but it's just not quite there yet. Could use a little more time to incubate, so I thought I'd just hop in, split the creativity up a little bit, and kind of talk about what's going on under the hood of these two songs that I already put out. If it's not clear, I'm kind of just doing this like quarantine creativity streak, writing it, producing it, mixing it myself, obviously all the video stuff, and then just putting it out. It's been kind of nice to not be so precious about stuff and just share things. So I thought I'd share even more about how these things were made. And with that seamless transition, let's hop into Ableton. All right, so I think I'm gonna go in order and talk about Teacher first. This one sort of kicked off my recent burst of creativity. So I wanted to make something and I was overthinking everything. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sing a note and be inspired by that. I wanted it to be kind of lo-fi, so I just sang it into my voice memos on my phone. And to the frustration of a lot of my friends recently, my iPhone, its microphone is really screwed up. So it makes everything muffled and distorted. Hence, I have a few other things going on here that color the sound, but let's hear it raw for a second. So like on all my vocals, I threw a saturator on there, brought the drive up a little bit, made it a little brighter. Compressor, amp to give it a lot more color. I only have this at like 21%, but it really does brighten it up quite a bit. We'll A-B it. What that does naturally is bring up a lot of that white noise, which at first I was really trying to cut out, and then the more I tried to cut it out, the more I missed it in a weird way. I kind of liked its bad quality for some reason. I knew this song was going to be mega vibey as I began to demo it out. So a lot of the vocals have a slap back kind of ghosty feel to it. So that's what this echo's doing. Filtered out a lot of that low end, brought the static stuff up. You can hear when I bring it all the way up here that that's kind of where it's sitting at. Last but not least, good old Valhalla. I have a reverb bus going, but I set a very specific one for this vocal. Good old chamber reverb, super low decay, just trying to get a really good color going. Next thing you hear is the synth. So these are our chords. And this sound is pretty much the main pad you hear the whole time. Per usual, I'm using an Arturia plugin. So this was born out of a preset they have called Soda Beach. Excellent synth patch name. I switched it from a saw to a pulse on the first VCO. To be honest with you, I don't remember a ton of the other additions I made on this preset. I know I changed quite a bit of it because I saved it. Most of the coloring came from plugins anyway. In fact, by itself, it has a lot of frequency stuff going on, so I had to shape some of that. So this is just the synth by itself after I messed around with it. Very warm. Very woofy. So after compressing it and the well-needed EQ, we shaped it to sound a little brighter. These frequencies right here being the trouble spots that I had to really duck down quite a bit. Hear that? This one as well. Oh boy, that's up there. Obviously using FabFilter, like my favorite EQ ever. You'll notice I automated the gain up right here. Lastly, for the intro, we have the vocals. Picked out the light from nothing. So I got my own vocal chain going on here, but let's go ahead and hear these by themselves so we know how we transformed it a bit. Picked out the light from nothing. A lot of mouth sounds. It's fairly dead at the moment. I was recording in the closet behind you guys. Maybe I'll get a shot of that later. You'll notice on this track that some of this is in pink and it says tuned, and some of it is yellow and untuned. Since this song is a little bit more polished and very vocal forward, for the main lead stuff, I nudged a couple of notes here and there. Very light tuning, but enough to keep it a little tighter. I have no shame in tuning some vocal stuff, especially when it's that minor of a change. It allows you to keep maybe a better performance with a missed note. The main stuff I tuned was just this first section because it's really, really intimate. The reason why I'll slip the untuned stuff back in is because there might be like a tuning artifact, or it just might not have the same quality as the raw take. Maybe I can give you guys an example of that. Just right for shaping. Like that vibrato stuff there. I think if I pull this back and hear the tuned version, shaping. It just feels a little unnatural, right? Shaping. In cases like this, it may not be perfect, but there's just something nice about the natural timbre of it. So like I said before, we're throwing a saturator on all these vocals. Do my first bit of EQing here. Cut the low end out, just bump a little bit where my vocal's sitting. Young mind just right. Got our Fab Filter de-esser on. I finally grown up from the Ableton compressors. I'm now using this UAD Teletronics compressor, which I freaking love. I didn't fully understand the differences between compressors and how much they can really make or break a sound. Some compressors just sound nicer, and it's hard to exactly differentiate why. But this thing sounds awesome on vocals, I think. It just feels tighter. It feels brighter. It's probably really, really minor stuff to most people's ears, but I'm now a believer. Now I'm a believer. Oh my God, kill me. My favorite movie, Shrek 2. Throw in another compressor here because this is such a light vocal. Just keep everything really, really balanced. Another EQ after all that, just to make sure we're cutting all those unnecessary frequencies out. Last but not least, Valhalla Vintage Verb Bright Hall setting for this one. Second delay, 15 mix, just a little extra color to give it some of that vibe. Picked out the light from nothing. Still, it colors it quite a bit, doesn't it? Then the song really drops into the main vibe here. Got this mini going here. Just love this Arturia stuff, man. I use this club sub all the time. Just a nice fat sub. Compressor, amp to give it some more color. EQ, you know what to do. Drum groove. Super simple, just like kick and snare, barely any hi-hats. I think the thing that sells it for me is this backward snare that sort of leads up to the main hits. It's a little thing, but it goes a long way. This is a hodgepodge of different sounds, from people giving me samples to splice all over the place. Nice subby 808 kick. Something with a little more punch. Snares. Colors of the rainbow with these snares. Obviously the hand clap. Add a new synth at this part. I love this preset and will often mess with it a ton. I changed it from, which originally was a sine. Very different, right? To this saw. Last but not least, instrument-wise, we have a very simple piano part. It is literally one note. The whole point of this part was to probably obviously echo what the vocal is doing, like the sample at the beginning, but give it another color, give it another balance. It's on the other side of the mix, so they sort of talk to each other. Lastly, for this part are these weird vocals. So let's hear what these sound like by themselves, because I'm doing a bunch of weird stuff to them. The main one. No, I won't eat your heart out. Now this one's pretty tuned because I wanted to manipulate it a lot. Pitch down. the song kind of has multiple characters talking back and forth to each other. The person experiencing the lesson that the narrative is talking at. Then the other side is like the voice in your head observing everything as it's happening. This is that voice, very distorted, very dreamlike, not quite certain of itself. So naturally you put an echo on that esoteric thing. And more reverb. Then we get into the sort of second section of the song. Not a real verse chorusy kind of song, obviously. I love holds. I do them all the time. One thing I get in the habit of doing quite a bit is oversaturating songs. I make so many pads, so many sounds that like there's no silence, that often I'll force these percussive holds, and they're very big in this song because that space creates a palate cleanser. Got some echo going on there. I made a whole separate track just for this echo. I like how it dances with this part later here. Which finally brings us to the end with this like synthy, not solo, but kind of lead part. So along with the bass and some of the other pads, I have this kind of light side chain going on here on this first compressor. I performed this one live with this Arturia keyboard here, which I did make it fall off. Super pro setup. Just used the pitch wheel, did it like 100 times until I got it right, and then nudged a little bit of the automation with it when some of the notes were a little funky, but I tried to keep it fairly authentic and weird and very James Blakey with its slow climb. Sidechain really helps here because it mirrors the vocals at the end. Last thing I'll talk about, one of my favorite moments of it. Shut up, Echo. One of my favorite moments of this song is this chopped up vocal here. I wanted it to sound like the part was breaking through the song, like literally breaking the song. So I just manually chopped it up, give it that percussive nature, and attached this quick arpeggiator that happens once in the song. Well, I just love that arpeggiated video game sound. I leveled up. So together, and with that, we're home free. All right, moving on to the next song.